What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another podcast episode. So, in this podcast, we are going to be talking about how to design a program for yourself and stick to it. So, we'll just go over some of the basics and things that you should want to look for when creating your own program.
Yeah, I'm going to kick it up a notch and also just kind of add a little bit of nutrition in there. Not necessarily like what to eat or how much to eat, but just like those healthy habits to start getting in the swing of when you want to make improvements. Because I feel like if you're not fueling yourself properly, your routine, your exercise routine is going to be negatively impacted as well.
Well, I mean, sure, but like one step at a time.
Yeah, okay. So, how do you even start trying to develop a healthy exercise routine?
I think it's more just finding what you enjoy
Yeah,
is all it is. Like you can see results from any program. Like the amount of programs I've purchased that ended up just they're basically the exact same thing as each other because my goals are always the same.
yeah,
That I'm like, oh, this is exactly like this other program I paid half the price for.
yeah, or twice the price for.
Yeah. So there's not like you just have to find what you're interested in, what your goal is, and then play around with exercises. Get creative, find the ones that you enjoy, and then sprinkle in some things that maybe you feel like are a weakness that you know you should be working on, because I also think that you shouldn't just focus on what you like. Sometimes those things you suck at are what you should be doing.
Yes, 100%.
So it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and I think the reason why most people fail is they don't set realistic expectations. They expect to go from not working out whatsoever to exercising 6 days a week for an hour and a half. And after 4 or 5 days, they're completely burnt out and they quit. So,
Yeah.
on top of finding something you like, I think it's also probably just as important to pace yourself.
Yeah.
Because burnout is real. And if you are doing something you actually like and you burn yourself out on that, then you feel like you don't even have anything you like left. It's
Yeah, like I think you need to just like decide what your goal is. So if your goal is, you know, bodybuilding or building your physique, or if your goal is like athletic performance or something along those lines, like those are going to be two very different training programs, right?
yeah.
So you have to first choose what you want to focus on and then build off of that. So, for example, if you want to get more athletic, then you might be focusing on some more explosive exercises versus just your typical like squat. So instead of a squat, maybe you're doing a jump squat, or you're just performing the squat at different tempos. So maybe you're playing with your speed where now you're descending slowly and then you're exploding out of the hole. Like those are different ways to just tweak the training towards your goal. And then obviously as well, like you're gonna have to focus a lot more on like endurance. Right. So and then again, and then when it comes to endurance, then you have to find what types of exercises you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Because like for me, like everybody's first instinct is to just like, I'm gonna start jogging.
Yeah.
And it's like, I hate jogging.
Yeah.
I hate it. Like I enjoy like heavy bag. I enjoy jumping rope. I enjoy walking.
Yeah.
I enjoy maybe like when it's nice outside doing like sprints or things like that, but like I don't like just going for a run,
Yeah, for sure.
right? So
Yeah. Anytime anyone thinks about losing weight, it's like immediately that's the first thing they want to do. And honestly, it's got to be one of the most unenjoyable and difficult things to get good at.
well, I mean, like some people love it, and like a
Yes,
lot of people see it's like an outlet for them. Like they
100%.
for those people, like that's great
Hmm.
if that's your goal. But
Yeah,
like if your goal is to put on muscle, if your goal is to like actually
tone.
like gain muscle and like
Hmm.
look like you work out,
Yeah,
then running is not going to get you there.
no, it's going to do the opposite.
So you can still run, but now you need to compensate for that running. Like you
Hmm.
need prioritize your resistance training. So whatever form of resistance training you like to do, like prioritize it.
Hmm.
And even so, like the thing is like so many people just like it's always like circuit training. It's always like high intensity. And maybe that's like what you fell into when you first started. So that's like your comfort level. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like you have to slowly integrate new training and maybe you'll find something that you really resonate with.
Yeah, and it's also about pushing outside your comfort zones. Like when you're in that comfort zone, thinking about doing anything else is hard because you know it's going to be hard and you feel like you're starting all over again. But yeah, and it's crazy because I feel like when people start like a new fitness journey, it's always like just all in,
Yeah.
all at once. And
Well, yeah, because they bought that cutter program and they feel like they need to go to the gym 5 times a week. And
yeah.
they feel like they need to not only go to the gym 5 times a week, but then they're doing cardio 5 times a week on top of that. Like, and like, don't get me wrong, like, I've done it. Like,
Yeah.
I've done it recently where like I just needed something to like kick my butt to the point
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, I need to instill a certain level of discipline.
Hmm.
And like I was doing 2 hours of cardio. I was doing a workout all
Yeah.
in like
In the same day.
in the same day,
Yeah.
multiple days. Like
6
I
days.
had one day off.
Yeah.
So I did that 6 days for 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy.
Like, and it was a lot of work, but it was like just to know that I have that ability to do so is
Hmm.
what I needed to get my mind right.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that about like the 75 hard challenge, where it's like this really ridiculous um, amount, like it's whatever the things that you have to do every single day. 2 workouts, one of them has to be outdoors. Like there's just these crazy things. And the creator of it, I can't even think off the top of my head who it is. He says it's not about the physical difficulty, it's about actually just proving to yourself that you can do something incredibly hard for 75 days straight.
Yeah.
And it's more of like that mental push than an actual physical push. It's still physically demanding, but it's way harder mentally than physically to get through it.
Yeah. So like when creating a program, like I will always say like 9 times out of 10, prioritize resistance training over cardio.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, I mean, like, there's really like the only thing I could possibly think of is like marathon training. And even then, I would still prioritize my resistance training over my cardio because at the end of the day, like, you're going to get a lot of benefit from resistance training anyway.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to be so depleted that now you can't push
Mm-hmm.
during your resistance training. Like now you're doing half of what you normally could because you just did your marathon training for running or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always say prioritize the resistance training and play around with the exercises. So like when I started working out, it was very much so like all upper body. It was
Yeah.
all upper body because I didn't want to do legs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing, then I got like overweight
Mm-hmm.
in college.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started training for like more martial arts.
Yeah.
And I started doing like the 300 program, which
Yeah.
was just very high intensity, essentially like
Mm-hmm.
almost like a CrossFit WOD.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
exactly.
just like doing this same workout every second or third day for time and just getting faster and faster. And then it was like slowly increasing my weights. And that's literally what I did.
You kind of dabbled into like calisthenics a little bit after that too.
And then yeah, after the 300, then it was like, yeah, trying to do like more calisthenics based stuff to like really gain control of like my movement, like my just body weight movements, and just like gain control in terms of that. And then it turned to like full body training, right? So then all of a sudden I was doing full body workouts every second day.
Yeah.
And then it turned from that to powerlifting, where then I did like the 5-3-1 by Jim Wendler.
Yep.
And then I started doing that with accessory work. So then I started focusing on my main lifts. And then it turned into bodybuilding. And then it was just very much that bodybuilding rep range and everything. And then it turned into what it is now.
Yeah.
Which is like a very much so like almost like a power building routine where like I focus on my main lifts, and then I also do a lot of volume in terms of like building that physique and that bodybuilding side of things as well.
The accessory work for sure.
I just noticed I've like blend right into that curtain.
We had even said like we need to make sure we're wearing lighter colors.
Talking head. But yeah, so like that was my progression.
Yeah.
So like it took a lot of different things to find out what like, and I love the way I train right now. And I tweak it very much. So like I've only been working out 3, maybe 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, like nothing, like a little bit of movement that I've literally just started incorporating, where like I do like more so cardio days where like I'll do a 20-minute walk on the treadmill, or I'll hit the heavy bag, or jump some rope, whatever it may be, just to slowly get back into the conditioning side of things.
God, my like training progression has been so boring compared to yours.
Yeah, I feel like I'm much more experimental, whereas you're just more like...
I think I just, from the very beginning, found what I really liked. Like my first experience in a gym at 16 was actual free weights, believe it or not. And then I dabbled in like the more like high intensity interval training, like the beach body workouts and the boot camps. And that like, I dreaded it. Like I always would like dread my workouts.
I feel like there were some points in time where you were very consistent, and you were
the only like high intensity like boot camp style that I actually enjoyed were the in-person ones. And it was because I went with Steph and my sister and your mom and my mom. Like it was more the experience thing.
Yeah.
I would have much rather done any other form of training. I also have tried running. I got very consistent with running while I was on maternity leave with Connor. I feel like he was really little. So I was probably like 9 months postpartum at that point. Actually it was like my 30th birthday year. So however old Connor was. And I had been really consistent for like a month.
Yeah.
But I still could only run like Ford Test Track one single time, which I think is like half a mile, maybe a quarter mile.
Yeah.
So I was running for like 13 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
every maybe like 4 times a week. Like I really struggled to progress past that. And as soon as I hit that plateau, I was done with it. Like I was
It's like
so over
all
it.
excitement was gone.
And then like the programs that I ended up like purchasing and really sticking to were really just like Meg Squats programs,
Yeah.
like the very early bodybuilding.com day one. And then the one I've done multiple times now, which is powerlifting based.
Yeah.
And then like Stephanie Buttermore's was very much like bodybuilding, but with an emphasis on powerlifting as well, still focusing on those 3 main lifts.
Yeah.
There are certain things that interest me, but I'm not adventurous enough to try them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And like, so like a big thing is like you don't have to completely go with that modality, right? So like you can take bits and pieces
Yes.
and incorporate them in your training now. Like, I mean, like I very much so train like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Like I treat my main lifts like power lifts is what I do. Or I'll do like a 5x5 for my main lifts or some variation of my main lift, whether I do bench press one day or I do like incline press one day, whether I do back squat or I do front squat. It's like 5x5 or it's even less reps. It's very low repetitions and more so about the power.
Yeah.
And then the rest of my workout dictating what I'm doing is all dependent on like how I'm feeling. So like I push myself hard, but I also like listen to little signals, or like I can tell when I'm like, oh, I pushed it too much. I'm gonna be sore tomorrow, which is not the goal. You don't want to be sore tomorrow. That isn't an indicator of an effective or good workout.
We can we can talk about that forever.
So like you really just want to like play around with things that you like, incorporate the things you do like, and certain exercises are just better performed at different rep ranges.
Yeah.
Right. So like don't feel like, oh, I'm in a hypertrophy phase or like a muscle building phase, so I need to do 10 to 15 reps or whatever you think that magical rep range is. Like for me, squats are ineffective beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
Like to me, like I feel it in my quads when I do 5x5. When I did 8 to 12, I did not feel it in my quads at all. I felt it in my lower back. I felt it in all those places that are overcompensating. And maybe with time, I would no longer feel those. Sure. But to me, like I'm getting the same amount of effectiveness and like I'm in much better shape now than when I was like doing like 8 to 12 and stuff, right? Like, so you need to just like figure it out for yourself and not just like look at those influencers who are just like, this is how you need to train for muscle. This is how you need to train for fat loss. This is how you need to train for, it's like the workout itself is only going to do so much. It's going to help to build, it's going to help to burn calories potentially, but your nutrition is going to play an even bigger role in whether you're gaining or you're losing.
Yeah.
That is very much so dependent on that. So
yeah, and that's the thing, like as soon as someone wants to make a change, they're like, what should I work out? How should I work out? But your nutrition in the end plays a much bigger role than your exercise. So just keep that in mind.
People tend to, the same way that they throw themselves into fitness, will also do the same with nutrition. So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm going to cut all my carbs out. It's like, yeah, you just cut out all your carbs that you've been consuming for the past however months or years from your old eating habits. And now you're working out 7 days a week and you're not eating. So now you're shocking your body even more. Like, yeah, you should be losing weight. But like you're gonna feel like garbage.
Yeah.
So you need to work into it slowly and know your limits. And sometimes like I'll take a week off of training and I'll go back into the gym and I'll do like half of what I normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still sore the next day. I'm like, dang, I still push it too much. And sometimes you don't even notice it in the gym. Like you're so in the zone that you don't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, I pushed it too hard. Like
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah.
sore for like 3 days. So
never fun.
yeah. But
yeah, so just to recap, find something you truly enjoy. Find a way to progress in that, because you always need to be progressing and challenging yourself. If you run a kilometer, you want to continue to try and increase your distance, or else you're never going to see any progress.
Yeah.
Same with lifting weights. You want to continually try adding more and more weight as time goes on. You're obviously not going to start, squatting just a bar and then have 45s on each side in the next week, but it's pacing yourself and slow and steady. That took us how many years to figure out? Like 15 years of consistently being surrounded by health and fitness to kind of figure that out. Like it's just a lot.
I think it's just a matter of figuring out what your goal is. So what do you want to achieve from your training?
Mm-hmm.
Find people that are doing that type of training and pick and choose. You don't follow it exercise for exercise.
Yeah.
Find the ones that you like, or the ones that are challenging to you in a way that is safe, but going to increase your ability in whatever way.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep constantly searching and growing and doing those things that you may not like to do, but also incorporate the things you do like to do, so that you're not just dreading going to the gym. I don't think anybody should ever just be like, oh, I gotta go work out today.
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't be a thing. Like
it will be once in a while, but if you're saying that every single day, then
you're gonna have days
else
where you're not gonna want to do it. And if you can push through and do it anyway, then you've won. You've crushed it. But if every single day is the same way, there's something wrong with your program. You're not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah,
you don't
see it every day.
Yeah, you don't see the objective. Like there's no clear goal. You're just doing it to do it, and you're going through the motions. And chances are, because you don't want to do it now, you're not pushing yourself as hard.
Yeah,
you might think you are, but you're not. Like there's no way you're not, because I've been there and I've done that, where I'm like, oh, I've got to do this program. I don't want to go work out. I'm always so sore after this, or I feel so nauseous after this. And it just wasn't a good program. Like I can see it now that I'm looking back on it, and I've found different things, that it just wasn't a good program. So like you need to truly just like figure out your goal, figure out your sources of information, and pick through it and take what you need and get rid of the waste.
Yeah.
And then slowly do the same thing with your nutrition. Don't just jump into a keto diet because that's what you heard is a magical diet that just drops pounds like crazy, because people have done it and they just don't know what they're doing. So they're just significantly cutting calories and are dropping weight like crazy. But like, guess what? Is that person still keto 3 years later?
Probably do they still have that weight loss 3 years later? Also probably not.
So you need to take it slow. And like, honestly, like I'm still young, but like for me already, I've already started transitioning much more focused on recovery than performance in the gym, like constantly pushing myself. Like to me, like I need to have a certain level of recovery before I'm going to endure another workout.
Yeah.
So like if I know like I set my alarm clock for 5 a.m. every morning, that doesn't mean I go to the gym at 5 a.m. every morning. I wake up and I'm like, dang, my legs are are tight today. Like I don't like I can tell that my recovery just wasn't there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I need to just take that break. And that break isn't just like sitting on the couch and doing nothing.
Yeah.
It could be, you know, going for a walk instead, or multiple walks, or, you know, doing some light activity of some sort, or stretching, or whatever it may be. But like that is your like active recovery day. You're prioritizing your recovery, but you're still being productive towards your fitness.
Yeah, you're really good at kind of feeling out that recovery too, which I know took practice, because you used to, just as sore as you were, you would drag yourself into your workout and get it done anyways.
Yeah.
You've definitely become a lot more in tune, and you're actually listening now. I think you always knew, but now that you're acting on it, it's making a big difference.
Yeah, I definitely have always had like a good wealth of knowledge, and I was always very good at coaching and telling other people what to do, but when it came to myself, I wouldn't. And that as well is like, just because you have like, maybe you have some sort of like soreness, or I don't want to call it an injury, it's more of like an achy, or an like a little owie, where like it's like, for me, for example, so like my elbow in my left arm flares up all the time. But I don't just avoid working out. Like if you go to the doctor and you tell them, oh, I'm having pain in my elbow, do you exercise? Yes, I lift weights. Oh, take a month off from the gym. That is not fixing anything. Like, yes, you might reduce your inflammation for a little bit, but it is not correcting the issue. So like, then maybe you do need to dial back on what you're lifting, which is why I take a lot more recovery days, is because my elbow has been bothering me when I am going too frequently. So I've dialed it back, and now I'm slowly starting to incorporate a little bit more stretching, a little bit more like flexibility, and like conditioning, and trying to just reduce that inflammation through diet. And that's how I'm going to correct that, so that I can eventually, you know, when I am ready to, can go back to training 5 days a week potentially. That's what I want to do, dependent on my goal.
I mean, like, I went to a podiatrist because of my feet were just, my one foot, the arch in my foot was super sore, my heel was super sore, and they literally said that our bodies are not made to lift heavy weight, and to stop lifting weights. Like, I've never had such a, I don't know, skin crawling experience with like a medical professional. That was my first like really crazy, like I left and I was like so angry, because I can't imagine people who are not well, I don't know, versed in weightlifting, what someone would have thought. They would have just left, never lifted a weight ever again in their life. And the only thing that I found worked has been strengthening the muscles in my feet and in my legs to rehab my foot.
And that's it. Like that's the thing, is like, nothing against doctors, nothing against like the medical practice, but like, I mean, like, they put in their time, they did their work, but like, I don't know, at a certain point, like, you have to take control and really like find out what works for you, because they might be giving you information that works for the general public, but that doesn't mean that you fall into that bubble. So, you know, as long as it's not something idiotic that's going to put your health in complete danger by doing it to like try to correct it, try it, test it out,
figure
see
it
how
out.
it goes. But that is our advice for just finding it's really like, I don't follow a strict routine right now. It's very, very flexible. I know what body parts I'm going to work.
Come here, Penny.
And
come here.
I have a good idea as to what staple movements I want in my program, because I know that they're going to help me with my goals. But I still tweak things. I don't have a set like oh, this is what I need to do. And that flexibility, it takes a lot of pressure off me, makes me feel a lot less guilty when I don't go to the gym that day.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think that is a much more enjoyable life
Well,
than
and I feel like the majority of people don't have a very specific fitness goal
Mhm.
working towards.
Yeah.
So don't be training like a power lifter constantly. Don't be training like a bodybuilder constantly if that's not actually your goal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just find what you like, do it.
Just
Be
stick to it.
consistent.
Honestly, consistency is king over anything else. Like as long as you're consistent and obviously you're progressing, you're pushing yourself a little bit more in some way, shape, or form, and don't just give in to laziness. Like truly like analyze your feelings and know like, am I not going to the gym because I need to recover? Or am I not going to the gym because I just truly don't feel like it, or it's just not what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like there's comping out and then there's kind of owning it and just doing what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that is it for this podcast because it's already 32 minutes. So we will end it there. Hopefully got some good information. You can always reach out to us if you ever want any advice or maybe some ideas for building your routine because I love doing that. So feel free to reach out. But if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, and until next time, peace.